Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In this edition of MeteoMark's Weather, it's great to have you here as usual. We're going to be looking at our winter storm outlook, see if we have any chances of big Arctic air blasts, snow chances, do we have any coastal lows? We'll get into all the details here for you, and we'll also take a look at your tropics, see if anything's going to be changing as far as tropical moisture, and will things get quieter for February? Let's get into it. All right, so take a look at our future radar here. We're just cruising on through the 23rd here into the 24th. So as we head on into your Friday, your TGIF, look at this. We've got this system pulling away from Nova Scotia and Maine. That will be a thing of the past as we head through 2 a.m. here on Friday morning. And the lake effect will kind of start to shut down a little bit across the eastern Great Lakes here. You can see we're still going to get some bits of snow here along the New York State Thruway on northeastward towards Oswego County, Onondaga County. And that's going to lift throughout the day into the night as we head on into early Saturday morning. Now, look what starts to set up here. You got this area of high pressure across the southeast. That is going to start the return flow, and that's where we're going to get the big warming trend, especially across the east. We're going to get into that weather pattern update momentarily. You can see we do have an area of potential light snow breaking out here across parts of Indiana, Ohio, Western New York, and Pennsylvania as we stretch through 1 p.m. through Saturday afternoon. So it's not going to be much in the way of heavy snow. So let's pick up where our future radar left off, the GFS, and then I'll show you the European run here. So as we cruise on into the rest of your weekend here, you can see there's that little area of light snow breaking out 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. You can actually follow these two systems, one up here into the northeast and one along the Gulf Coast here. This one's rain and this one's some light snow. We're not going to look at significant precipitation by any stretch of the imagination here. And as we head through the 27th, you can ultimately see what's happening here across the southeast. You have a lot of just overrunning rain showers and maybe some snow mixing in here into the southern Appalachians. And that pulls off the Carolina coast as we head through the 28th into next week. You can see some scattered snow showers as we approach the middle of next week, right around the 29th. This is where we start to see our Colorado low set up. So you're going to see that return flow off the Gulf. And then here into the northeast, we have that little weak Alberta clipper just moving through. And look what starts to happen. Many of you have been asking me, are we going to see another winter storm along the Gulf Coast? The answer is pretty much no, at least through this next week, because there's not a lot of cold air around now. If you're in the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, through eastern parts of New Mexico and southern Colorado, that's where you're going to see the heavy snow breaking out. But most of Texas, you might actually be seeing the threat of severe weather here. And then look at on the northwest side into western Oklahoma. This is where you're going to see that heavy wet snow really start to develop. And this takes us through the 31st into the 1st of February. This looks like almost like a Bermuda high sitting off the East Coast. That's going to push that warm air to the north here. You're going to see showers and thunderstorms all the way up through the Appalachians here. Maybe some mixed precipitation up into the Ohio Valley and the Midwest here. And then look what starts to happen as we head into February 2nd here. We could be looking at an icing event really start to take shape across interior Pennsylvania and upstate New York, parts of western New England here. As we get through the 2nd into the 3rd, ultimately the warm air does eventually win out here. And on the backside, that's where you get that return flow of some lake effect and lake enhanced showers and snow showers. And then our next Colorado low here come February 4th blasts up across the Midwest. It'll tap into some Gulf moisture here, rain snow line all the way up through Chicago and western Ohio here, and then some big time snows up here across the Midwest, Wisconsin and Michigan here. You could actually be seeing some snow into northern New York and northern New England. But look what starts to happen here. You start to see, this looks like a squall line right in through here until you get up into Pennsylvania where we have some mixed precipitation. And to the north of that, that's where you're getting that heavy wet snow. But the trend is much warmer until we get to about February 6th and the 7th. We do start to see a return maybe of some of these systems meeting up with some of these Alberta clippers and maybe some better snow chances as we get into parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania and New York. All right, so let's take a look at the European run here. We'll flip it over to the synoptic view. And as we go out here in time, high pressure is going to be in control as we head into the weekend. So we're looking at a nice sunny weekend across much of the east here. Exception is we'll see some snow showers with this little trough that's moving through, but we're not going to see bone-chilling cold air. Now look at here across the southern plains. We do start to see the shower developing on the west side of this high pressure. So you know things will be warming up. That snow will be melting from Texas to Louisiana. And we'll actually get some thunderstorms developing through Sunday night and Monday across southern and eastern Texas through Louisiana. So it's going to feel kind of strange after getting all that snow. But here it is. We got an Alberta clipper moving through southeast Canada. It could clip parts of northern New York and northern New England. We'll get into those snowfall amounts momentarily here. Now, we do start to see next week, towards the middle of next week, you can see this trough. It's pretty well set up here with lots of Alberta clippers that'll be dropping south. One thing to note, though, the southern branch of the jet stream is pretty absent here as we get high pressure just building in, with the exception for South Texas. As we get towards the 30th, you can see two areas of concern. One area here across Texas, cold front moving through, lots of potential for some severe weather. We're also watching an inverted trough on the East Coast that might set up some snow showers. And then look at the West Coast. This is where we could get rain all the way down into Southern California, which would be great, although it seems to fizzle out on this run. Now, look at this. This is the start of the Colorado low pattern. I know a lot of you along the East Coast are probably rolling your eyes at this point. Haven't we seen enough of this the last couple winters? Many of you that are in snow deficits, you want to see snow. Well, it's just not happening. And look at this, high pressure building in. The return flow is going to get that moist, warm air off the Gulf, and we could see strong to severe thunderstorms from New Orleans all the way up to Nashville here. And look at how that low just winds up across the plains. A little bit of mixed precipitation here into the Northeast and the Ohio Valley through about February 1st. But look at the big deal here. It is going to be a lot of surging of moisture all the way up the coast. We could see thunderstorms all the way up to southern New England by February 2nd with this big push. And then look at this, another Colorado low blasting up through Chicago here. This is February 4th. You can see lots of snow and wind around this, but it's pulling lots of warm air here up on the northern and eastern side of the system. So it's a big area of low pressure. However, it looks to be mostly rain here along the East Coast. I wanted to briefly touch out here right around January 31st into the 1st of February here. This is where I think the snow levels could lower pretty significantly in Oregon, California, and Washington state. You're going to see a parade of these systems, and we might actually get some very heavy rain down into parts of Los Angeles area. So this would be some great news, even as far south as San Diego here. So a lot of these systems are really going to blast south. February is going to be a much different month for you out west here. So this is good. You do need the precipitation. However, unfortunately, as you know, on the West Coast, you tend to get it fast and furious. And let's flip over to the snowfall amounts we'll be seeing on the GFS. Yeah, with the exception in the east for parts of the central Appalachians, eastern Great Lakes, at least through this weekend into the middle of next week, where we'll see a couple bouts of lake effect snow downwind of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Look at this. This is like a snow deficit starting. This takes us all the way through February 8th. Look at out west. Look at the snow all the way to the coast here in Oregon and Washington. And then look at the snow from the plains. Yep, you guessed it. The Colorado lows are cranking up here. And here we go with snowfall totals. On the European run, you can see that lake effect really cranking, especially east of Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, and Lake Michigan here. And then through, yeah, there it is. So you get the idea. We're going to start to see that shift, that track from Colorado up northeastward, and that is going to keep most of the heavy snow from the eastern Rockies up across the plains into southeast Canada. Some parts of northern New England and northern New York could get clipped as well. If we take a look at the snowfall totals here on our mesoscale model over the next 24 to 48 hours, ultimately, you may end up with an inch or less across northeast Ohio, northwest Pennsylvania. The big story is going to be north of Syracuse here. where we could get into these totals closer to 6 to as much as 15 inches of snow, especially around the Tug Hill and Oswego County here. And we can go a little bit further out on the NAM 3 kilometer here as we stretch through early Sunday. You can see there it is, northwest Pennsylvania into western New York, about an inch or two, maybe higher amounts, 3 to 4 inches. Right around Chautauqua County and southern Erie County here. And then we get towards, there's that Tug Hill Plateau snow up there, getting an eclipsing 6 to as much as 12 inches plus. Total liquid equivalent precipitation totals here from the south all the way to the east. That is where we're looking right along the Gulf Coast. This takes us through February 1st. Just look at next week. So we get this first system as we progress into the weekend and early next week, and then another system by the 30th, the 31st, and into the first part of February. We're going to be looking extremely active here across the south. Look at this. Eastern Texas through Louisiana, all the way up into parts of Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas. This is a crazy amount of liquid equivalent, 4 to 8 inches. And if we take a look at the European run liquid equivalent here, yeah, look at this. Even the Euro is going crazy with precipitation here from the Gulf Coast. And this run of the Euro takes it all the way up into parts of New England in the Northeast. So these red shades, 2 to 4 inches, and then these yellowish and oranges, 4 to 8. Look at the Pacific Northwest as well. And don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. Let's continue. So we just pinwheel through our upper air pattern. Ultimately, you can see that ridge building across the east as we head through the end of the month. Now look at out west here. You're going to start to see some of these low pressure systems. Still, right around the 29th, we're hinting at a big trough heading through the Great Lakes into the northeast. That pulling away through Thursday into Friday, into Saturday, February 1st, with a massive ridge developing across the east here. And then we start to see that firecracker ridge really take to hold across the east as we head through the first full week of February. Now let's take a look at the Euro, see if there's any comparison here. Yeah, there is. So here it is, right around the 28th and 29th. You get that big low, that trough moving through parts of the Northeast, Great Lakes, and the East Coast. That lifts out. Firecracker Ridge building in just at the end of the month, beginning of February here. Let's see. Yeah, it pretty much holds on along the East Coast where you have these Colorado lows inland pushing to the Northeast. This one does try to develop something coastal right around February 5th, so we'll have to watch it. But look at this Inferno Ridge developing across the east with quieter times and warmer conditions. So our NAO index, yeah, it's basically neutral right now. It's going positive. And through the middle of February, this will continue to increase through about 1. So we're going to get up to about the index of 1 here. That's going to mean less coastal lows, less cold air. Now, if we take a look at the MJO index, look what's happening here. We're already into phase 3. This is going to look interesting because, yes, I know a lot of you are really grumbling about this because, you know, we're heading into an area of time where we're not going to see as much snow across the east and cold. However, look what's going to be happening. We're zooming towards phase 4 and 5, and as we get towards the middle to latter part of February into March, we will be heading towards 6 and eventually 7 and 8. And that could get us back into the cold and the snow as we head towards the end of February into March. So taking a look at the Caribbean, Central America here, the Western Atlantic. How's everybody doing down here into the Caribbean, Central America, all the Caribbean islands here? Hope everybody's having a good one. So as we continue to cruise through the weekend here, you can see we do have some scattered showers. The best chance lies from Honduras, Belize, all the way up through the Bahamas here. This is where we have kind of like a stalled out frontal boundary. Maybe a few showers back across the Lesser Antilles here as well. Florida, for the most part, looks pretty clear up here with the exception for the Florida Keys and Miami, where you might have some clouds and some potential showers here. So as we continue to go through time, you can see this easterly fetch here. The northeasterly trade winds, that's going to focus that rainfall onto the northern coastlines of these islands and these nations here into Central America. Of course, you get the northern Honduras coast and eastern Belize coast. That's where you really get the moisture ringing out. So as we head through the 28th into the 29th, ultimately you don't see any large-scale areas of showers You have some light showers here across Central America, even a few back across Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the Lesser Antilles. We'll get into those rainfall amounts momentarily, but as we head through the end of the month here, you can see, wow, look at all that moisture up there across the northern Gulf. That's associated with some cold weather systems. But for the most part, the only frontal boundaries you see are mainly across the Northwest Caribbean and just to the north of the Caribbean islands. These fronts don't make it that far south, although this one by February 2nd could actually start to clip parts of Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, through the Virgin Islands here. So this is development we'll have to keep a close watch on. But as we head into February, I have to say, things are actually looking quieter across the Caribbean and the Western Atlantic. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our European model analysis here across the Caribbean and the Western Atlantic and the Gulf. As you can see, we head through Sunday here. Yeah, we've got some scattered showers smattered about parts of the Central America area and then parts of Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic as we head into next week. Now, if we get an idea of what's going to be happening through the end of the month, look what's happening here. This almost looks like a little tropical wave approaching the Lesser Antilles here, Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up the island chains here towards eastern Puerto Rico. We're going to continue to watch this. This front slides to the northeast. You can still see some showers here into the eastern Caribbean, as well as Nicaragua, Honduras, and Belize here. Now, as we go out here in time, look at this front. There's a front here around this time, January 31st, that makes it all the way into Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, through Cuba here. Now, look what starts to happen. High pressure building into the north. Wow, look at that across the Gulf, into parts of the Gulf Coast. That looks like a severe weather outbreak with torrential rain. We do start to see a low emerging here into the southern Caribbean, so tropical moisture is going to be alive and well as we head through the first part of February. And look at this. This front makes it down into the Yucatan before stalling. But here it is. This is what the European's signifying here. The GFS, as I showed you just previously, was showing drier conditions, whereas the European is really ramping up this tropical moisture. And as you know, the European typically has a better record for this area of the world. So we'll have to keep a very close watch on this. Liquid equivalent here, rainfall for Central America and the Caribbean. We're going all the way through next week, so it's pretty dry this weekend with the exception for northern Honduras, eastern Belize, down all the way through Costa Rica here. But then look what starts to happen. Yeah, we get all the way through February 7th here. We're not looking at too much rain until you get to the northern and eastern coastlines here of Central America, especially from Honduras and Belize. This is where you'll see, 100 to 200 millimeters pretty easily of rainfall all the way down the coastline here to Nicaragua and Costa Rica. Northeast coast to Jamaica there, getting close to 100 millimeters. Most of Jamaica, though, will make out with about 10 to 30 millimeters of rainfall. Now, look at over towards parts of the island of Hispaniola, especially the Dominican Republic. We could be seeing 80 to 100 millimeters, also in eastern Puerto Rico as well. That'll get you up towards that 2 to 3 inch range through February 7th. And we flip over to the eastern Caribbean. We can get a bird's eye view of the Lesser Antilles through Puerto Rico, all the way through the southeastern Bahamas, the Turks, the Caicos. Look at this. Yeah, this is quite interesting. So let's just loop this again. You're going to see something here. It starts out pretty dry for the most part, with a few scattered showers moving through, especially through the central Lesser Antilles, and then through Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic through early next week. And then we get some more downpours developing as we get into that first full week of February. So, this doesn't look like a lot, but you'll get some showery conditions at times, scattered showers with some heavier downpours mixed in at times. And some of those areas that do see it, the northern facing coastlines here of Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, especially the central Lesser Antilles here, you could see upwards of 80 to 100 millimeters, get you up towards 2.5 to 3.5 inches of rain. And let's take a look at your Canadian weather outlook. Yeah, it starts off a little bit quiet here, but as we go out here in time, you can see this coastal pretty much missing most of Nova Scotia and into Newfoundland here. And as we just cruise through time, ultimately, we have a few Alberta clippers that are really going to start to make their presence felt into the 27th, into the 28th. You can see them really propagating through parts of southern Quebec and Ontario, and eventually trying to form some sort of coastal low as we progress towards Nova Scotia and Newfoundland here in Prince Edward Island. However, you have to admit, this is pretty quiet through the end of January. with the exception for the west coast of Canada. This is where you're going to start to see that heavy snow, and these low-pressure systems are going to pinwheel southeastward towards Washington State and southern British Columbia here. Now, is there any return flow for some of these Alberta clippers? We do start to see those Colorado lows eject from the United States, and Alberta clippers come down just like this. This could help really kick off an area of snow across southeast Canada in this area. So you're going to have to watch out for this. Look at this. By the February 5th into the 6th, we could have a big storm moving across southern Ontario and Quebec with significant snowfall amounts beyond 15 centimeters here. So watch out as that slides off the coast. It does try to go coastal. One thing's for sure, it'll be clear and cold up here across the central provinces of Canada, and here's another Alberta clipper moving throughout parts of southern Ontario and meeting up with this system across the United States. Snowfall amounts across Canada, we are looking quite interesting across southeast Canada and the west coast. You can see what's going to be happening here. We're going to have Colorado lows here, we're going to have Alberta clippers, and this is going to set the stage for southeast Canada. Southern Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, these areas over to Newfoundland and the Canadian Maritimes, we could be seeing 20 to as much as 45 centimeters of snow with locally higher to 60 centimeters in some areas. And then look at the west coast here, just getting blasted with these Pacific systems. All right, we'll look to the Western Pacific here. What is going on over here? Well, we don't have too much to talk about. That is some good news. As you know, the typhoon season never really truly ends out here in the Western Pacific. It's your cold season up here in Japan, so you begin lots of snow as well as South Korea. You can see these systems pinwheeling through at least this weekend into early next week. Philippines are getting a break lately, and you do need a break here. Believe me, after this fall when you had several typhoons just line up, especially and hit the northern coast of the Philippines, that was terrible. However, nicer skies are on the way. Look at this. By February 1st, you're clearing out across much of the Philippines and Vietnam here, with most of these tropical weather systems remaining pretty far to the south. Until about the 5th into the 6th, we do start to see some more showery activity as we get this front approaching and some tropical moisture pluming up along the southern part of the Philippines. And that kind of stalls out through the 8th of February, but no large-scale areas of tropical concerns. All right, so taking a look at precipitation totals here across the Western Pacific. Yeah, the only thing we're talking about is these northern stream branches. Nothing tropical up here. The Philippines, as we get through that first full week of February, we could be looking at close to 150 to 250 millimeters of rainfall. That'll get you up towards 4 to 8 inches. And temperatures here, this is going to be a big deal as we get through Friday. You can still see a lot of cold air blasting down through parts of the Tennessee Valley, through the central and southern Appalachians, all the way up into the northeast. But this, you have to admit, this is warmer than it has been, into the 20s. And look at Texas and Louisiana. You're actually warming up into the 50s here, all the way through the 40s into parts of North Carolina. Now look what starts to happen. We start to see this cold air blasting through the Rocky Mountains, and this is the next flux of cold air as we head through Sunday. It doesn't get much momentum, though, as we get a warming trend here across the plains. 30s here into the northeast, so it'll feel like a heat wave as we soar above the freezing mark here into Monday. Look at this. Much of the country getting well above average, even into the 50s, all the way up to Washington, D.C. 40s here through the eastern Great Lakes and into northern New England. As we get through Tuesday of next week, we do see a reinforcing shot of some colder air here, 20s. So we're setting up that baroclinic zone where we're getting a lot of warmth to the south. Look at New Orleans almost pushing 70 along with Houston. So we're just teeter-tottering here on these temperatures, and that will do it. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, Bangor, Cranes, Upper Susquehanna River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. As we continue through the week, it's going to get warmer, mid-upper 20s through Friday into Saturday, and into Sunday we get above freezing into Monday as well. Lots of nice sunny skies as well. We do have a chance of snow showers towards Tuesday and the middle part of next week, where we'll probably see a little bit of a cooling trend later next week. And before we continue with more weather coverage, check out these amazing, awesome maps from my affiliate here. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone. Share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.